Princess Arya stood alone on her balcony. The twin moons of Valora hung in the purple sky above her. Below, the crystal towers of the imperial city glowed softly in the night. She had lived here all her life, but tonight the palace felt like a prison. Tomorrow would change everything. Tomorrow the High Council would announce her wedding. An arranged marriage. A political deal. Arya closed her eyes and tried not to cry. She was 24 years old and her life was no longer her own. The door behind her opened. Soft footsteps approached. Arya did not need to turn around. She knew who it was. "You should be resting, daughter," her mother said gently. Queen Lyssa came to stand beside her. Like all Valorans, the queen's skin glowed with a soft blue light. Delicate patterns moved across her face and arms, showing her emotions. Right now, those patterns showed concern. "I cannot sleep," Arya said. Her own skin flickered with purple and gray lights, sadness and fear. Every Valoran could read emotions through these light patterns. There was no hiding how she felt. "I know this is hard," her mother said. She placed a hand on Arya's shoulder. "But you must understand, this marriage is not just about you. It is about our entire empire." Arya finally turned to face her mother. "Why me? Why must I be the one to sacrifice my future?" "Because you are the crown princess," Lyssa said. Her voice was kind but firm. "With great privilege comes great responsibility. You have always known this day would come." Arya looked away. Yes, she had known. Every princess in their history had been married for political reasons. It was tradition. It was duty. But knowing something and accepting it were two different things. "Tell me about them," Arya said quietly. "These humans, what are they like?" Her mother hesitated. "They are different from us. Very different. Different how? They have no light in their skin, no telepathy. They cannot read emotions the way we do." Lyssa paused. "They are a young species, Arya. They have only been traveling in space for 200 years. Some on the council believe they are too primitive for such an alliance." Arya's patterns flashed with curiosity despite her sadness. "But father agreed to this marriage. He must see something valuable in them." "Your father sees their potential," Lyssa admitted. "Humans are surprising. In the recent border conflicts, they fought with a courage that impressed even our generals. They do not have our technology or our telepathic abilities, but they have something else, something we do not fully understand." "What?" "Determination, creativity. They do not give up even when defeat seems certain. They find solutions where we see only problems." The queen's patterns shifted to show respect mixed with uncertainty. The council fears them and admires them in equal measure. This is why they want the alliance. Better to have humans as friends than as enemies. Arya turned back to the view of the city. Somewhere out in the galaxy, on a planet she had never seen, there was a human who would become her husband. She tried to imagine what he might look like. The historical record showed that humans came in many different colors and sizes. They had hair on their heads and faces. They smiled by showing their teeth, which had seemed strange when Arya first learned about it. "Do you know anything about him?" Arya asked. "My future husband?" "Very little," her mother said. "His name is Jake Collins. He is a military officer in the human navy. Young like you, that is all the council has told us." "A military officer," Arya repeated. "So he was a warrior. Perhaps he was cruel. Perhaps he would see her as just another alien, something strange and foreign. Perhaps he would not even want this marriage either." "Arya," her mother said softly, "I know you dreamed of something different. You wanted to travel, to explore, to choose your own path. But sometimes our duty requires us to set aside our dreams. Did you love father when you married him?" Arya asked suddenly. The queen was quiet for a long moment. Her patterns showed old memories, both happy and sad. "No," she finally said. "Not at first. Our marriage was also arranged. But over time I learned to respect him, and from respect grew affection. And from affection grew love. It did not happen quickly, but it happened." "What if it does not happen for me?" Arya whispered. "Then you will do your duty anyway," Lyssa said. "Because you are stronger than you know. And because our people depend on this alliance. The trade routes the humans control are vital to our economy. Their military support will protect our borders. This marriage will bring peace and prosperity to millions of Valorans. Millions of people." Arya felt the weight of that number pressing down on her. How could she refuse when so many lives depended on her choice? How could she be so selfish? "When do I leave?" Arya asked. "In 3 days. The ceremony will take place on a neutral station in the Antares sector. Representatives from both our governments will attend. Her mother squeezed her shoulder gently. I wish I could make this easier for you, my daughter. But I cannot. All I can tell you is that you are brave and intelligent and kind. Those qualities will serve you well no matter who your husband turns out to be. After her mother left, Arya remained on the balcony for hours. She watched the moons move across the sky. She thought about her life, about all the things she had wanted to do. She had wanted to visit the artistic colonies of the Zentari people. She had wanted to study the ancient ruins on Keeper's World. She had wanted to write poetry and paint pictures and maybe, someday, fall in love with someone she chose herself. All of those dreams were ending. In 3 days, she would board a ship. She would travel to a station far from home. She would marry a stranger from a strange species, and her life would belong to duty forever. Arya's patterns flickered with determination mixed with sorrow. If she could not choose her fate, she would at least face it with courage. She would not shame her family or her people by being weak. She would do what was required of her, but that did not mean she had to like it. 3 days passed too quickly. Arya spent the time in preparation. Royal tutors taught her about human customs. She learned how humans greeted each other with handshakes and hugs instead of touching foreheads as Valerans did. She learned that humans could not see the light patterns on her skin very well, so she would need to express emotions with her voice and face instead. She learned that humans ate many different types of food, some of it cooked with fire. She learned that they kept animals as pets and companions. She learned that they had hundreds of different languages, though most spoke one called English in official settings. The more she learned, the stranger humans seemed. They were so different from everything she knew. How could she possibly build a life with one of them? On the morning of her departure, Arya dressed in a formal traveling gown of silver and blue. Her attendants arranged her long white hair in the traditional style of Valoran royalty. They placed the crown of the heir upon her head, a circlet of crystal that caught the light. Her father came to see her before she left. Emperor Theron was tall and commanding, his patterns always steady and controlled. But today Arya could see sadness in the way his light flickered. You look beautiful, daughter, he said. Thank you, father. I know you do not want this marriage, Theron said quietly. I know you think I am forcing you into a life you did not choose. But Arya, I need you to understand something. I would not do this if I did not believe it was necessary. Our empire faces threats on every border. We need allies. The humans are our best hope for a secure future. I understand, father. Do you? He stepped closer. When I look at you, I do not see just my daughter. I see the future of our people. You will be a bridge between two species. What you do, how you handle this marriage, will shape our relationship with humanity for generations to come. That is a heavy burden. I wish I could spare you from it. But I cannot. Arya met her father's eyes. I will not fail you, she said. I know you will not. Theron embraced her, something he rarely did. Be strong, Arya, be wise. And try to keep an open mind. Humans may surprise you. The royal shuttle lifted off from the palace landing pad an hour later. Arya sat by a window and watched her homeworld grow smaller below her. She did not know when she would see Valora again. Perhaps not for years. Her attendants tried to make conversation, but Arya remained quiet. She was thinking about the human named Jake Collins. She was trying to prepare herself for the moment when she would see him for the first time. What would he think of her? Would he be disappointed? Would he be cruel? Would he even try to understand her? Arya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. In a few days, she would have her answers. For better or worse, her new life was beginning. The diplomatic station was enormous. Arya had seen many space stations in her life, but none quite like this. It orbited near a beautiful nebula that filled the view screens with clouds of purple and gold. The station itself was built by the Galactic Council as a neutral meeting place for species who needed to negotiate treaties and alliances. Arya's shuttle docked in the Royal Bay. She stepped out into a corridor lined with guards from a dozen different species. Everyone bowed as she passed. She kept her face calm and her light patterns controlled. A princess must always appear confident, even when she felt terrified inside. Her chief advisor, an old Valoran named Kren, walked beside her. The human delegation arrived 2 hours ago, he said quietly. They are waiting in the east wing of the station. How many of them? Arya asked. Only 15, much smaller than our group. Kren's pattern showed disapproval. The humans apparently do not believe in large ceremonial displays. Arya said nothing. Her group included 40 advisors, guards, and servants. She felt embarrassed that she needed so many people while the humans traveled with so few. They were taken to the royal quarters, a series of rooms decorated in the Valoran style. Everything was crystal and soft lights. It should have felt comforting, but Arya only felt more homesick. The formal introduction will happen in 3 hours, Kren told her. You should rest and prepare yourself. But Arya could not rest. She was too nervous. Instead, she asked her guards to take her to the observation deck. She wanted to see the nebula up close. She wanted a few more moments of peace before her life changed forever. The observation deck was a huge, transparent dome that looked out into space. The nebula filled half the sky, its colors shifting and swirling like a painting. Arya stood at the railing and stared at it. She tried to memorize every detail. This beautiful sight would be one of her last memories of freedom. It is amazing, is it not? Arya spun around. A human stood a few meters away. He must have been on the observation deck before she arrived, standing in a shadowed corner where she had not noticed him. The human was male. He wore a dark blue uniform with silver insignia on the shoulders. His skin was tan and he had short dark hair. He was looking at the nebula, not at her. Arya's guards moved forward quickly, putting themselves between her and the stranger. But Arya held up a hand to stop them. Something told her this human was not a threat. Yes, she said quietly. It is beautiful. The human glanced at her and Arya saw his eyes widen slightly. He clearly had not expected to find a Valoran princess on the observation deck. He bowed quickly, the gesture a bit awkward. I apologize, Your Highness. I did not mean to intrude. I can leave. No, Arya said. The word came out before she could think about it. Please stay. I do not mind the company. The human straightened up. He seemed uncertain. Are you sure? I would not want to cause any diplomatic problems. What is your name? Arya asked. Jake Collins, ma'am. Lieutenant Commander in the Earth Alliance Navy. Arya felt her heart skip. This was him. This was the man she was supposed to marry. She studied him more carefully now. He was not what she had expected. He seemed normal, not frightening or cruel, just a man looking at a beautiful view. Jake did not know who she was yet. He thought she was just a Valoran royal, not his future wife. Arya decided not to tell him. Not yet. She wanted a few moments where she could talk to him as simply two people, not as political pawns. You may call me Arya, she said. That is a pretty name, Jake said. Then he looked embarrassed. Sorry, that probably sounds silly. I am sure you get compliments all the time. Not many that sound sincere, Arya said. Her patterns flickered with amusement, but she remembered that humans could not read them very well. She smiled instead the way humans did. Do you come from Earth? Yes, ma'am. Montana, to be specific. It is a state in the western part of North America. What is it like? Jake's face lit up. Beautiful. Big open spaces, mountains and forests. My family has a ranch there. We raise horses. Horses? Arya had read about them. The animals humans ride? That is right.
Have you ever ridden an animal?
No. Velarans do not have riding animals on our world. We have flying vehicles instead. Flying vehicles sound much more practical, Jake admitted. But there is something special about being on a horse. The connection you feel with another living creature. The freedom of moving across open land with just the wind in your face. Arya found herself genuinely interested. You miss it. Your home? Yes, Jake said quietly. Very much. But duty calls, right? Sometimes we have to be far from the places and people we love. Yes, Arya agreed softly. Sometimes we do. They stood in silence for a moment, both looking at the nebula. Arya felt something strange. This human, this Jake Collins, did not feel like a stranger. He felt like someone she could talk to. Someone who understood what it meant to sacrifice personal desires for duty. Can I ask you something? Jake said. And please tell me if I'm being too forward. I am still learning about Valoran customs, you may ask. The patterns on your skin, the lights. I have read that they show emotions. Is that true? Yes. Every Valoran can read the emotions of others through these patterns. It is how we communicate on a deeper level than just words. That must be amazing, Jake said, but also difficult. You can never hide how you feel. Arya was surprised. Most aliens thought Velaran telepathy was simply an advantage. Jake was the first to understand that it could also be a burden. It is both, she said. We value honesty in our culture. But sometimes I wish I could keep my feelings private. I understand, Jake said. Humans cannot read emotions like Velarans can, but we are pretty good at reading faces and body language. It is hard to hide when you are sad or scared or angry. People can usually tell. Are you scared? Arya asked suddenly. About why you are here? Jake was quiet for a long moment. Yes, he finally said. I am terrified. His honesty surprised her. Most people, especially military officers, tried to appear brave and confident all the time. But Jake admitted his fear without shame. Why are you scared? Arya asked. Because I am about to marry someone I have never met, Jake said. A princess from an alien species. And I have no idea if she will hate me or if we will have anything in common. I do not want to fail at this. Too many people are depending on this alliance working. Arya felt her patterns shift to show understanding and sympathy. The princess might be just as scared as you are, she said softly. Jake looked at her, and for a moment Arya thought he might have guessed who she was. But then he smiled sadly. I hope she is as kind as you are. It would make things much easier. Before Arya could respond, Kren appeared at the entrance to the observation deck. His patterns showed disapproval. Your Highness, it is time to prepare for the formal introduction. Jake's face went pale. He looked at Arya, then at Kren, then back at Arya. Understanding flooded his expression. You are her, he whispered. You are Princess Arya, my future wife. Yes, Arya said. I told you. Jake looked mortified. I am so sorry, Your Highness. That was completely inappropriate. I should not have spoken so casually. No, Arya said quickly. Please do not apologize. That conversation was the most honest one I have had in weeks. I am glad we met this way. I am glad I got to know you, even just a little, before all the formality and politics got in the way. Jake still looked uncertain, but he bowed again. I should go prepare. I will see you at the introduction. As he walked past her toward the exit, Arya reached out and gently touched his arm. Jake stopped and looked at her. I am scared too, she said quietly. But I think maybe we can help each other be a little less afraid. Jake's expression softened. I would like that, Princess. After he left, Kren approached Arya with his patterns showing concern. Your Highness, that was highly irregular. You should not have spoken with him alone before the formal introduction. I know, Arya said, but she could not bring herself to regret it. Meeting Jake like that, as just two people rather than as royalty and military officer, had changed something. She still did not want this arranged marriage. She still resented being forced into it. But at least now she knew that her future husband was not a monster. He was just a man trying to do his duty, same as her. 3 hours later, Arya stood in the grand ceremonial hall. She wore her finest gown, silver and blue with crystal embroidery. Her crown sat on her head. Her attendants surrounded her. She looked every bit the imperial princess. The human delegation entered from the far side of the hall. There were so few of them compared to the Valoran group, but they walked with confidence. Jake was in the front, standing beside 2 older humans who must have been the senior diplomats. Arya studied Jake again. In his formal uniform, he looked more official and less approachable than he had on the observation deck. But she could see tension in his shoulders. He was nervous, just like her. The chief diplomat of the humans stepped forward. Your Imperial Majesties, nobles of the Velaran court, we come in peace and friendship. We are honored by this alliance and by the trust you place in us. Then Jake stepped forward. He walked toward Arya with measured steps. When he reached the proper distance, he bowed deeply, exactly as the protocol required. Princess Arya of Valora, he said formally. It is my honor to meet you. I hope that together we can build a partnership that brings prosperity and peace to both our peoples. The words were stiff and rehearsed, nothing like the genuine conversation they had shared earlier. But when Jake raised his head and met Arya's eyes, she saw the same man from the observation deck. The one who had spoken honestly about his fears. The one who missed his home and understood what sacrifice meant. And suddenly Arya smiled. She could not help it. Despite all her anger and resentment about this arranged marriage, despite all her fears and doubts, she found herself genuinely happy to see Jake Collins again. The smile shocked everyone in the room. Velaran princesses did not smile at formal introductions. They maintained dignified, neutral expressions. Even Arya's own father looked surprised, but Arya did not care. For the first time since learning about this marriage, she felt something other than dread. She felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, this would not be as terrible as she feared. Jake looked equally surprised by her smile, but then slowly he smiled back. It was a warm, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "I am pleased to meet you, Lieutenant Commander Collins," Arya said, her voice clear and steady. "I believe this will be the beginning of something important for both of us." After the formal introduction, the Valoran and human delegations attended a diplomatic dinner. Long tables were arranged in a grand hall, with representatives from both species seated in alternating positions. The idea was to encourage conversation and understanding, but most people seemed uncomfortable. The Valorans spoke quietly among themselves, and the humans did the same. Arya sat at the head of one table with Jake beside her. Custom required them to eat together and talk. At first, neither knew what to say. The easy connection they had shared on the observation deck seemed harder to find now, with dozens of eyes watching them. "The food is very good," Jake finally said, looking at his plate. The cooks had prepared dishes from both cultures. He had tried a Valoran crystal fruit that glowed faintly with stored light. "Thank you," Arya said politely. "I hope our food is not too different from what you are used to." "It is different, but in a good way," Jake said. He seemed to be searching for something else to say. "Your dress is beautiful." "Thank you." More awkward silence. Arya could feel everyone watching them. Her father sat at another table observing. Kren was nearby, his patterns showing disapproval of everything. The human diplomats kept glancing over, clearly worried about how the meeting was going. Arya made a decision. She leaned closer to Jake and lowered her voice. "This is awful, is it not?" Jake looked surprised, then relieved. "Yes," he whispered back. "I feel like I am performing in a play and I do not know my lines." "I feel the same way." Arya's patterns flickered with amusement. "Would you like to escape after dinner? We could go back to the observation deck. Talk like we did before, is that allowed?" Jake asked. "I am the crown princess," Arya said. "I can do what I want." "Within reason," Jake smiled. "Then yes, I would like that very much." The dinner seemed to last forever. People made long speeches about friendship between species and the importance of the alliance. Arya smiled and nodded at all the right moments. She could see Jake doing the same, looking polite but bored. Finally, the dinner ended. Arya stood and announced that she was tired and would retire to her quarters. Jake stood as well, bowing politely. But as the group separated, Arya caught his eye and tilted her head slightly toward a side corridor. Jake nodded, understanding. Arya told her attendants she wanted to be alone for a while. They did not like it, but they could not refuse. She slipped out of her quarters and made her way through the quiet station corridors. Jake was already waiting at the observation deck when she arrived. "I feel like we are doing something wrong," Jake said, but he was smiling. "We are just talking," Arya said. "There is nothing wrong with that." They stood at the railing again, looking at the nebula. It seemed even more beautiful at night with fewer station lights to interfere. "Tell me about Earth," Arya said. "About your home. I want to understand where you come from." Jake thought for a moment. "Earth is diverse. We have deserts and forests, mountains and oceans, ice caps and jungles. Humans live in all of these places. We have adapted to almost every environment on our planet. Are all humans the same?" Arya asked. "Or are there different types?" "We are all one species, but we come in many different varieties," Jake explained. "Different skin colors, different cultures, different languages. For most of our history, humans fought with each other over these differences. We still do sometimes. But we have also learned to work together. When we finally reached space, we had to unite. We could not explore the galaxy while fighting among ourselves. Valorans are all very similar," Arya said. "We have the same light patterns, the same telepathic abilities. We think alike. Sometimes I wonder if that is why our culture has become so rigid. There is no one to challenge our assumptions." "You challenge them," Jake pointed out. "I can tell you do not think like the other Valorans I have met. You question things. How can you tell?" Arya asked, curious. "Humans cannot read our light patterns well." "No, but I can read your face. Your body language. The way you hesitated during some of those speeches at dinner, like you disagreed, but were too polite to say so." Arya was impressed. "You are observant." "It is part of my training. In the military, you learn to read people. to understand what they are thinking even when they do not say it out loud. Jake paused. Can I ask you something personal? Yes, do you hate this? The arranged marriage? Arya considered lying. Then she remembered how honest Jake had been with her. I do not hate it as much as I thought I would, she admitted. I hated the idea of it, but now that I have met you, it seems less terrible. You are not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone cold. Someone who only cared about the political alliance. Someone who would see me as just another alien. And what did you get? Jake asked. Someone who misses his home. Someone who admits when he is scared. Someone who looks at nebulas and thinks they are beautiful. Jake laughed softly. That sounds better than what I feared too. What did you fear? That you would be disgusted by me. That you would see humans as primitive and beneath you. That you would make this marriage as difficult as possible. I considered it, Arya admitted. Making it difficult, I mean. I thought about being cold and distant. But what would that accomplish? We are both stuck in this situation. We might as well try to make it bearable. Bearable is a low goal, Jake said. Maybe we could aim higher. Like what? Like friendship. Maybe we could be friends, Arya. Real friends, not just political partners. Arya felt warmth spread through her chest. Her patterns glowed with hope. I would like that. They talked for hours that night. Jake told her about growing up on a ranch, about learning to ride horses when he was 5 years old, about the wide open spaces of Montana. He told her about joining the military because he wanted to see the stars, about his first time in space and how it had taken his breath away. Arya told him about growing up in the palace, about feeling trapped by expectations and rules. She told him about sneaking into the royal library to read about other species and other worlds. She told him how she had always wanted to travel, but had never been allowed to go far from Valora. Why not? Jake asked. You are the princess. Could you not just order people to let you go? It is not that simple. The council worries about my safety, and they worry that exposure to other cultures might make me less Valoran. They want me to be a perfect princess, a symbol of our traditions and values. That sounds lonely, Jake said quietly. It is. Arya had never admitted that to anyone before. But with Jake, it felt safe to be honest. I have attendants and guards and advisors. But I do not have friends, not real ones. Everyone treats me like a princess first and a person second. I will not do that, Jake promised. When we are alone like this, you are just Arya to me. Not a princess, just a person I am getting to know. And you are just Jake to me, Arya said. Not a human, not a military officer. Just someone who understands what I am going through. Over the next few days, they met at the observation deck every night after the official diplomatic events. They talked about everything. Their favorite foods, their fears, their dreams. Jake taught Arya some English phrases, and she taught him some words in the Valoran language. Jake showed her pictures of Earth on his datapad. Mountains covered in snow, oceans stretching to the horizon, cities lit up at night like jewels. Arya had never seen such variety on one world. It is beautiful, she breathed, looking at a picture of the Montana ranch. I want to see it in person. You will, Jake promised. After the wedding, we will visit Earth. I will show you my home. You can meet my family. You can even ride a horse if you want. I would like that very much. One evening, Jake brought something with him to the observation deck. A small wrapped package. What is this? Arya asked. A gift. I thought, well, I wanted to give you something, to show that I am serious about trying to make this marriage work. Arya carefully unwrapped the package. Inside was a smooth stone about the size of her palm. It was brown and gray with streaks of red running through it. It is from Montana, Jake explained. From the land near my family's ranch. I brought it with me when I left Earth. I thought it would help me remember home. But I want you to have it, so you can have a piece of Earth with you. Arya held the stone, feeling its weight. It was warm from being in Jake's pocket. She could not read emotions from objects the way she could from living things, but this stone felt important. It represented Jake's trust in her, his willingness to share something precious. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Her patterns glowed with gratitude and affection. I will treasure this. You are welcome. They stood close together, looking at the nebula. Arya realized that somewhere along the way her feelings had changed. She no longer dreaded the wedding. She was actually looking forward to it. Not because of duty or politics, but because it meant she would be able to spend more time with Jake. "Can I ask you something?" Arya said. "Of course." "When you first learned about this arranged marriage, were you angry?" "Yes," Jake admitted. "I was furious. I felt like my life was being decided without my input, like I was just a game piece being moved around a board." "But you are not angry anymore?" Jake thought about it. "No, I am not. Because I met you. And I realized that sometimes the things we think will make us miserable actually turn out to be gifts. I did not choose this marriage, but I am choosing to make it work. And that makes all the difference." Arya understood what he meant. She had not chosen this either. But she was choosing Jake. She was choosing to see him as a person, not an obligation. And that choice made everything better. "My father will want me to return to Valora after the wedding," Arya said, "to show the people that the alliance is strong. But then I will come to Earth. Will you show me your world?" "Every part of it," Jake promised. "The mountains, the oceans, the cities, everything, and someday maybe you can show me Valora. I want to understand your world too." "Deal," Arya said, and she held out her hand the way humans did. Jake took her hand and shook it gently. But then he did not let go. He held her hand in his thumb brushing across her knuckles. Arya's skin glowed brighter where he touched her, responding to the warmth of his skin. "Is this okay?" Jake asked quietly. "I do not want to make you uncomfortable." "It is more than okay," Arya said. Her heart was beating fast. She had never felt this way before. Like she was standing on the edge of something important and wonderful. They stayed like that for a long time, hands clasped, looking at the stars. No words were needed. They both understood that something had shifted between them. They were not just two people forced together by politics anymore. They were becoming partners, maybe even something more. When Arya finally returned to her quarters that night, she held Jake's stone close to her chest. Her attendants noticed her glowing patterns and whispered among themselves. The princess was happy, genuinely happy. It was something they had not seen in weeks. Kren appeared at her door before she could sleep. "Your Highness, I must speak with you." "What is it?" Arya asked. "The council has noticed your frequent meetings with the human. They are concerned that you are becoming too attached." "Is that not the point?" Arya asked. "We are supposed to marry. Should I not get to know my future husband? There is a difference between polite acquaintance and emotional attachment," Kren said carefully. "The council worries that if you care too much, it will make the political aspects of the marriage more complicated." Arya felt anger flash through her patterns. "So I should marry him but not care about him? That makes no sense." "It is not about sense, Your Highness. It is about maintaining proper boundaries. You are a princess. He is a human. The alliance is what matters, not your personal feelings." "The alliance will be stronger if we actually like each other," Arya said firmly. "Tell the council that I know what I am doing. And tell them that I will not be cold and distant to my own husband just to make them comfortable." Kren bowed, but his pattern showed worry. After he left, Arya sat on her bed and held the stone from Montana. The council wanted her to be a symbol, not a person. They wanted her to perform a role, not to have real feelings. But it was too late for that. She did have feelings, real ones, and she was not going to deny them, just because it made other people nervous. She placed the stone on her bedside table where she could see it. Then she lay down and smiled at the ceiling. In 3 days she would marry Jake Collins, and for the first time since this whole thing began, she was truly happy about it. The morning of the wedding arrived with unexpected nervousness. Arya had thought she would feel calm, given how much her feelings had changed. But as her attendants helped her into the wedding gown, her hands trembled. The dress was magnificent. It had been made by the finest artisans on Valora, white fabric that shimmered with embedded crystal threads. The threads captured light and made her glow even brighter than normal. Her long white hair was arranged in an elaborate style, woven with small lights that pulsed gently. The crown of the heir sat on her head, reminding everyone that this was not just a wedding, but a union of political importance. "You look beautiful, Your Highness," one of her attendants said. Arya looked at herself in the mirror. She did look beautiful, but she also looked scared. Her patterns kept flickering between excitement and fear, no matter how hard she tried to control them. Her mother came to see her before the ceremony. Queen Lissa wore formal robes of deep blue, and her patterns showed pride mixed with sadness. "How are you feeling, daughter?" she asked, terrified, Arya admitted. And happy. And confused. I feel everything at once. Lyssa smiled gently. That is how I felt on my wedding day. It is normal. She came closer and took Arya's hands. I have watched you these past few days. I have seen how you look at the human. Your father and I both have. Are you angry? Arya asked. No, we are relieved. We worried that you would hate him, that you would be miserable. But instead, you found a connection. That is more than we could have hoped for. The council thinks I care too much. The council is made of old fools who have forgotten what it means to be young, Lyssa said firmly. Do not listen to them. If you have found something real with Jake, hold on to it. Those connections are rare and precious. Did you and father have that? Arya asked. A real connection? Eventually, yes. It took time, but you are luckier than I was. You found it before the wedding, not after. Lyssa squeezed Arya's hands. Be brave today, my daughter. And be honest, both with Jake and with yourself. After her mother left, Arya sat quietly for a moment. She touched the stone Jake had given her, which she had hidden in a pocket of her dress. The rough texture of it calmed her nerves. There was a soft knock at the door. Your Highness, it is time, Kren said from outside. Arya took a deep breath. She stood, adjusted her crown, and walked to the door. It was time to get married. The ceremony was being held in the largest hall on the station. Every seat was filled. Representatives from dozens of species had come to witness this historic union. The Valoran delegation sat on one side, dressed in glowing robes. The human delegation, smaller but proud, sat on the other side in their military uniforms and formal suits. Arya walked down the long aisle alone, as was Valoran tradition. The princess must come to her groom by her own choice, symbolizing that she entered the marriage willingly. With each step, she felt more certain. This was right. This was what she wanted. Jake stood at the front of the hall. He wore his formal navy uniform, dark blue with gold insignia. His face was serious, but when he saw Arya, his expression softened. He smiled at her, and Arya felt her nervousness fade away. She reached the front and stood facing him. Up close, she could see that he was nervous too. His hands were clasped behind his back, probably to hide the fact that they were shaking. The officiant, a neutral party from the Galactic Council, began to speak. We are gathered here to witness the union of Princess Arya of Valora and Lieutenant Commander Jake Collins of Earth. This marriage represents not just the joining of two individuals, but the alliance of two species, two cultures, two worlds. The ceremony included traditions from both cultures. First, the Valoran blessing. Arya's father came forward and placed his hand on her forehead. His patterns glowed bright blue, sending a wave of telepathic well-wishes into her mind. Love, hope, prosperity, peace. Then he did the same to Jake, though Jake could not receive the telepathic message as clearly. Next, the human tradition. Jake's mother, who had traveled all the way from Earth for the ceremony, came forward. She was older, with gray streaks in her dark hair and kind eyes. She hugged Arya gently and whispered, "Welcome to our family." Arya felt tears prick her eyes. She had not expected such immediate acceptance from Jake's family. Then came the vows. In Valoran custom, the couple spoke directly to each other. No scripts or formal words. They simply said what was in their hearts. Arya went first. She looked into Jake's eyes and spoke clearly. Jake Collins, I will not lie and say I wanted this marriage when it was first announced. I did not. I felt trapped and angry. But then I met you, and you showed me that sometimes the things we think will hurt us are actually blessings. You have been kind to me. You have been honest with me. You have treated me like a person, not just a princess. I promise to do the same for you. I promise to be your partner, your friend, and your wife. I promise to try to make this alliance work not just for our people, but for us. Jake's eyes were bright with emotion. He took a moment to compose himself before speaking. Arya, I came here scared and unsure. I thought this would be the hardest thing I ever had to do. But you made it easy. You are smart and brave and curious about the world. You make me want to be better. I promise to respect you and listen to you. I promise to share my world with you and learn about yours. I promise to stand by you no matter what challenges we face. And I promise to make you happy if you will let me. The officiant smiled. The vows have been spoken. Now the exchange of tokens. In Valoran tradition, the couple exchanged light crystals, small stones that glowed with stored energy, Arya gave Jake a blue crystal that she had charged with her own light. It would glow for years, carrying a part of her with him wherever he went. Jake gave Arya a human wedding ring, a simple gold band with a small diamond. He slipped it onto her finger. On Earth, this symbolizes eternal commitment, he explained. A circle with no beginning and no end. Arya looked at the ring on her finger. It caught the light and sparkled. She had never worn anything like it before. Finally, the officiant spoke the last words. By the authority granted to me by the Galactic Council, and with the blessing of both Valora and Earth, I declare you married. You may seal your union. Arya knew that humans kissed to seal their marriages. She had read about it, but she had never experienced it. Jake stepped closer, moving slowly to give her time to pull away if she wanted. But Arya did not pull away. Jake's hand came up to gently cup her face. His skin was warm against hers. Then he leaned in and pressed his lips to hers in a soft, brief kiss. It was strange and wonderful at the same time. Arya's patterns flared brightly, glowing so intensely that several people in the audience gasped. She could feel Jake's emotions flooding through that simple contact. Nervousness, yes, but also affection, hope, and determination. When they pulled apart, Jake whispered so only she could hear, "Was that okay?" "Yes," Arya whispered back, her patterns still glowing. "More than okay." The hall erupted in applause. People from dozens of species cheered and celebrated. Music began to play, a blend of human and Valoran styles that somehow worked together beautifully. The reception was held in the same hall. Tables were loaded with food from both worlds. There was dancing and speeches and toasts. Arya and Jake sat together at the head table, hands clasped under the table where no one could see. "How are you doing?" Jake asked quietly during a break in the speeches. "Better than I expected," Arya said. "You?" "Same. Your father looks happy." Arya glanced at her father. He was talking with some human diplomats and his patterns showed satisfaction. "He is. This alliance means everything to him. And what does it mean to you?" Jake asked. Arya thought about it. "It means I have a partner, someone who will face the future with me. That is more valuable than any political treaty." Jake squeezed her hand. "I feel the same way." Later in the evening, they had their first dance as a married couple. Arya did not know human dances and Jake did not know Valoran ones, so they improvised. They swayed together slowly, not really following any particular rhythm, just moving together. "Everyone is watching us," Jake murmured. "Let them watch," Arya said. Her head rested against his shoulder. "I do not care anymore." "You have changed," Jake observed. "From when I first met you, you seem freer." "You changed me," Arya said simply. "You showed me that I could be myself and still fulfill my duty. That the two things do not have to be separate." As they danced, Arya felt something she had not expected to feel on her wedding day. She felt a sudden, intense wave of emotion from Jake. It was not just affection or partnership. It was deeper, stronger. He was falling in love with her. Arya's breath caught. She pulled back slightly to look at his face. Jake met her eyes and she saw the truth there. He cared for her, really cared for her. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. And Arya realized with a start that she felt the same way. Somewhere in the past few days, between their conversations on the observation deck and his gift of the Montana stone and his honest vows, she had fallen for him too. "Jake," she whispered. "Yes? I am glad it was you. I am glad they chose you to marry me." Jake's smile was radiant. "I am glad it was you too, Arya." They danced for hours. Other couples joined them on the floor. Valorans danced with humans, creating new traditions as they went. It was a symbol of what this marriage could mean, not just for Arya and Jake, but for both their species. Unity, understanding, hope. Late in the evening, when the party was finally winding down, Jake leaned close to Arya. "Can we sneak away? Just for a little while?" "Where do you want to go?" "The observation deck." "Our place," Arya smiled. She liked that he called it our place. She nodded and they slipped away from the party. The observation deck was empty and quiet. The nebula glowed outside, beautiful as always. Arya and Jake stood at the railing, just like they had done so many times before. But everything was different now. They were married. They were partners. They were bound together by more than just politics. "Arya," Jake said softly, "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" I know this marriage started as an arrangement, a political necessity, but it is not that anymore. Not for me. He turned to face her fully. I care about you. Really care about you. And I want you to know that I am in this for real. Not because I have to be, but because I want to be. Arya's patterns glowed so brightly that the entire deck lit up with blue and purple light. I feel the same way, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I did not think this was possible. I did not think I could feel this way about someone I barely know. But I do. I care about you, Jake, so much that it scares me. Why does it scare you? Because now there is so much to lose. If this does not work, if we cannot make this marriage succeed, it will not just be a political failure. It will hurt. Really hurt. Jake reached out and gently touched her glowing cheek. Then we make sure it works. We fight for it. We choose each other every day, not just today. Promise? Arya asked. I promise. They kissed again, longer this time. More certain, and in that moment Arya knew that everything would be okay. They had challenges ahead. 2 different species, 2 different cultures, 2 different worlds. But they also had something stronger than all of those obstacles. They had each other, and they had chosen to make this real. When they finally returned to the party, hand in hand, everyone could see the change in them. The political marriage had become something genuine. The arranged union had transformed into a real partnership, and that more than any treaty or alliance gave both species hope for the future. 6 months had passed since the wedding. Arya sat in a conference room on Earth, watching Jake speak with a group of military officers about joint training exercises between human and Veloran forces. She still found it amazing how confident he looked when he talked about strategy and tactics. This was his world, and he belonged in it. The meeting ended and the officers filed out. Jake came over to where Arya was sitting and kissed the top of her head. Sorry that took so long. How are you feeling? Arya placed a hand on her slightly rounded belly. Tired, but good. They were expecting a child. A daughter. The first human Veloran hybrid ever to exist. The news had shocked both their worlds, but it had also excited people. This baby was proof that their 2 species could truly come together. Let me take you home, Jake said. You have been working too hard. Home was a house in Virginia near the human military headquarters. It was smaller than the palace on Valora, but Arya loved it. It had a garden where she could grow earth plants and a room she had decorated with things from both their worlds. Human furniture sat next to Valoran light crystals. Earth paintings hung beside Valoran tapestries. As they drove home, Arya watched the Earth scenery pass by. She had learned so much in 6 months. How to drive a car, how to use human technology, how to eat pizza without making a mess. Small things that made her feel more at home here. But she had also taught Jake about Valoran culture. He was learning the language now, getting better every day. He could read her light patterns almost as well as another Valoran. And he had started meditating, trying to develop a sensitivity to the telepathic energy that Valorans use naturally. I got a message from my father today, Arya said as they pulled into their driveway. Good news or bad news? Jake asked. Good, I think. He wants us to come to Valora next month. He wants to show the people how well the alliance is working, and show them his soon-to-be granddaughter, Jake added with a smile. That too. Inside the house, Jake made tea while Arya sat on the couch. She was getting bigger now, and simple things like standing for long periods made her tired. The pregnancy was going well, but it was strange. The doctors, both human and Veloran, were learning as they went. No one knew exactly what to expect from a hybrid baby. Are you scared? Jake asked, bringing her the tea. About the baby? Sometimes, Arya admitted. What if something goes wrong? What if she is not healthy? Then we will deal with it, Jake said firmly. He sat beside her and put his arm around her shoulders. Together, like we deal with everything else. That was how they had approached their marriage. Together. It had not always been easy. There were cultural misunderstandings. Times when Arya's telepathic nature made her seem distant to Jake's human friends. Times when Jake's need for privacy frustrated Arya, who was used to the constant telepathic connection of Valoran society. But they talked through every problem. They compromised. They learned from each other. The hardest time had been 3 months ago. A group of Valoran extremists had tried to assassinate Arya. They believed she had betrayed her people by marrying a human and embracing Earth culture. They saw her as a traitor. The attack had happened on Valora during one of their visits. Arya and Jake had been walking through the palace gardens when armed Valorans appeared. They wanted to kill Arya and make a statement against the alliance. Jake had put himself between Arya and the attackers. He had no weapon, no way to protect himself. But he had not hesitated. He would have died to keep her safe. Fortunately, Arya's guards had arrived in time. The extremists were captured. No one was killed. But the attack had shaken both of them. It had shown them how much opposition still existed to their marriage. After that, security had increased. They could no longer move freely without guards. It was frustrating and frightening, but it had also brought them closer together. They had faced death and chosen each other without hesitation. "What are you thinking about?" Jake asked, noticing her distant expression. "The attack. I was thinking about how you did not even pause. You just stepped in front of me." "Of course I did. You are my wife. I love you." Those words still made Arya's patterns glow. Jake said them easily now, but it had taken him weeks after the wedding to say "I love you" for the first time. Arya had said it first one night when they were alone. Jake had been so surprised that he had not known what to say, but later that night he had whispered it back to her in the darkness. "I love you too," Arya said now. She took his hand and placed it on her belly. "And I love our daughter. Have you thought about names?" Jake asked. They had been discussing this for weeks. Human names, Valoran names, names from other cultures. Nothing seemed quite right. "What about Hope?" Arya suggested suddenly. "It is a human name, but it also means something important. She represents hope for both our species." Jake's eyes lit up. "Hope, I like that." "Hope Collins. Hope Collins of Valora," Arya added. Their daughter would carry both heritages, both names. "Perfect," Jake said. The next month they traveled to Valora for the visit. Arya's parents were thrilled to see her, especially with the pregnancy showing clearly now. The whole planet seemed excited. Banners hung in the streets welcoming the princess and her human husband. People gathered to see them wherever they went. Emperor Theron held a public ceremony in the main plaza of the capital city. Thousands of Valorans attended, and the event was broadcast across the planet. "My people," Theron began, his voice amplified for all to hear. 6 months ago, Princess Arya married Lieutenant Commander Jake Collins of Earth. Some questioned this alliance. Some feared what it would mean for our culture, our traditions, our identity as Valorans. The crowd was silent, listening. "But look at what this union has brought us," Theron continued. "Trade routes that have enriched our economy, technology sharing that has advanced our science, military cooperation that has strengthened our security, and most importantly, understanding between two species that once knew nothing of each other." He gestured to Arya and Jake, who stood beside him on the platform. "My daughter and her husband have shown us that different does not mean incompatible. They have created a home that honors both their cultures. They have built a partnership based on respect and love, and soon they will bring into this galaxy a child who is both human and Valoran. Proof that our species can not just coexist but thrive together." The crowd erupted in applause. Arya felt tears in her eyes. For so long she had worried that her people would reject her choices, but instead they were celebrating them. After the ceremony, they visited the palace library where Arya had spent so much time as a child. She showed Jake the books she used to read about other species and other worlds. "I dreamed about traveling," she told him, "about seeing all these places I read about. But I never thought it would actually happen." "We can make it happen," Jake said. "After Hope is born and things settle down, we can travel. We can visit other worlds together. Show our daughter the galaxy." Arya smiled. "I would like that." They also visited Jake's family on Earth. His parents, his 2 sisters, and several cousins all wanted to meet Arya and see the baby. It was overwhelming at first. Human families were so loud and energetic compared to the formal restraint of Valoran nobles. But Arya grew to love it. Jake's mother taught her how to cook human food. His sisters shared stories about Jake as a child, embarrassing him but making Arya laugh. His father took her to the ranch and let her finally ride a horse, something she had wanted to do since Jake first told her about them. Sitting on the horse, moving across the open Montana landscape with the wind in her face, Arya understood what Jake had meant about freedom. This was what she had been searching for all her life. Not physical freedom, but the freedom to be herself, to make choices, to live authentically. As they rode back to the ranch house, Jake beside her on his own horse, Arya felt complete. She had a husband she loved, a child on the way, 2 worlds that accepted her, purpose and meaning in her life. "Thank you," she said to Jake. "For what?" "For making this work. For trying. For loving me. Arya, I should be thanking you. You took a chance on me. You could have made this marriage miserable, but instead you made it wonderful." They rode in comfortable silence for a while. Then Arya spoke again. "Do you ever regret it? Giving up your military career to be with me?" Jake had left active service after the wedding to become a diplomatic liaison. It meant less time in space, less action, more meetings and paperwork. Arya sometimes worried that he missed his old life. "No," Jake said firmly. "Never. The military was important to me, but you are more important. Our family is more important. I made the right choice. Good. Because I could not do this without you. You would not have to. I'm not going anywhere." Hope was born 3 months later on Earth, in a hospital prepared for both human and Valoran medical needs. The delivery was difficult. The baby was larger than expected, and the doctors struggled to manage the unique physiology of a hybrid child. But finally, after hours of labor, Arya heard her daughter's first cry. The sound was different from a human baby's cry. Higher-pitched, more melodic, almost like singing. Jake cut the cord while the nurses cleaned the baby. Then they placed Hope in Arya's arms. She was beautiful. She had Jake's dark hair and tan skin, but she also had Arya's luminescent quality. Faint patterns of light moved across her skin, pale but visible. Her eyes, when they opened, were bright blue like a Valoran's. "She is perfect," Jake whispered, tears running down his face. "Arya, she is perfect." "She is ours," Arya said, marveling at the tiny life in her arms. "She is Hope." The news of Hope's birth spread quickly. Both Earth and Valora celebrated. She was a symbol of what their alliance could achieve. Not just political cooperation, but true unity. In the weeks after Hope's birth, Arya and Jake settled into parenthood. It was exhausting. Hope cried often, needing constant attention. She seemed to have inherited both human and Valoran traits in unpredictable ways. Sometimes her skin would glow brightly when she was upset. Other times she would wail like a human baby. But watching Jake hold their daughter, singing human lullabies while Hope's skin pulsed with soft light, Arya felt overwhelming love. This was what she had been meant for. Not just political duty, but this: family, love, building something new. One evening, when Hope was 2 months old and finally sleeping peacefully, Arya and Jake sat together on their porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. "Do you remember the observation deck?" Arya asked. "Where we first really talked?" "Of course. That was where everything changed. I was so angry back then, so resentful about the arranged marriage. I thought my life was over. And now?" Jake asked. "Now I know it was just beginning." Arya leaned against his shoulder. "I thought I knew what I wanted from life. Freedom, adventure, choice. But what I really needed was connection, purpose, someone to share everything with." "You have all that now," Jake said, "and so do I." They sat in silence, watching the sunset. Inside the house, Hope stirred but did not wake. She was growing stronger every day. Soon she would be old enough to travel. They could start showing her both her worlds, teaching her about both her cultures. "Jake," Arya said quietly, "thank you for choosing me. Every day you choose me. You choose us. That means everything." "I will always choose you," Jake promised. "Both of you. For as long as I live." Arya believed him. She had learned that Jake Collins was a man of his word. When he made promises, he kept them. When he committed to something, he gave it everything. That night, after Jake had gone to bed, Arya stood in Hope's nursery watching her daughter sleep. The baby's skin glowed softly in the darkness, creating a gentle light. She looked peaceful, innocent, full of potential. "You are going to change the world," Arya whispered to her sleeping daughter. "Not because you have to, but because of who you are. You are the bridge between two species, the proof that we can overcome our differences." Hope made a small sound in her sleep, her tiny hand curling into a fist. "Your father and I will teach you everything we know. About Valora and Earth, about duty and love, about choosing your own path while honoring where you come from." Arya gently touched her daughter's glowing cheek. "And we will make sure you know how much you are loved. How wanted. How perfect." As Arya left the nursery and climbed into bed beside Jake, she thought about how far she had come. From a resentful princess facing an unwanted marriage to a happy wife and mother, building a life she loved. The journey had not been easy, but it had been worth it. Jake's arm came around her in his sleep, pulling her close. Arya smiled and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, diplomatic meetings, cultural differences to navigate, the ongoing work of maintaining the alliance between their worlds. But tonight she was just Arya, not a princess, not a political symbol, just a woman lying beside the man she loved, with their daughter sleeping safely in the next room. And that was enough. That was everything. The arranged marriage that she had dreaded had given her the life she had always wanted. Freedom came not from escaping duty, but from finding meaning within it. Love came not from perfect circumstances, but from two people choosing each other despite imperfect ones. Arya had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best things in life are the ones we never saw coming, the ones that seem like obstacles at first but turn out to be blessings. She had smiled when she saw her groom was human, and that smile had been the beginning of everything good in her life, the beginning of love, family, and hope for a better future. As she drifted off to sleep, Arya sent out a telepathic thought of gratitude to the universe. Thank you for Jake. Thank you for hope. Thank you for showing me that sometimes fate knows better than we do. And in the nursery down the hall, Hope's skin glowed a little brighter, as if she understood. As if she knew that she was loved, wanted, and destined for great things. The alliance between Valora and Earth continued to strengthen. Trade flourished. Cultural exchanges became common. Young Valerans studied on Earth and young humans studied on Valora. The initial suspicion between the species gradually transformed into genuine friendship. And at the center of it all was a family, a Valoran princess, a human officer, and their hybrid daughter, living proof that differences could be celebrated instead of feared. That love could bridge any gap. That hope, once kindled, could light the way forward for everyone. Years later, when historians wrote about this era, they would call it the Great Alliance. But for Arya and Jake, it was simply their life. The life they had built together, one choice at a time, one day at a time. And it all started with an arranged marriage, a smile, and two people brave enough to see beyond the surface to the possibility beneath.